Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I guess the reason I've been asked to have the honor of introducing Dr. Soroush is indeed the fact that I translated the first compendium of writings of Dr. Soroush in English that came out in the year 2000 by Oxford University Press. I had in mind some kind of a relatively detailed contextualization of Dr. Soroush's work, but given the fact that we are extremely late, I will summarize that and basically give you a very brief introduction, and then we'll have the honor of having Dr. Soroush. I believe the unique opportunity that we have, those of us in the Islamic world, from Islamic origins, is that we live in the 15th century and breathe in the 21st century. We are in the 15th century of Islam. Interestingly enough, 15th century, it was exactly when Reformation started in Christianity and then in Judaism. And these two great Abrahamic religions have transformed themselves and have become compatible with modernity and rationality and civic liberties and the entire milieu of modern and postmodern world. And it's not surprising that nothing less than that Reformation is happening in our 15th century, in Islamic 15th century. And we have the great privilege of actually seeing characters that we are familiar with in the Christian history, people such as Martin Luther or Erasmus. We can actually live along with them and listen to them and debate them and weigh their ideas. Dr. Soroush has been called by Western scholars and journalists both as the Luther of Islam as well as the Erasmus of Islam. Luther was a person who had to move outside of the Orthodox Catholicism in order to usher in Reformation. Erasmus was a person who stayed in Catholicism and yet criticized it so relentlessly to usher in counter-Reformation. Together, they moved this great transformation of Christianity along. Now, only the future will say whether Dr. Soroush will be the Luther of Islam or Erasmus of Islam or Dr. Soroush of Islam, blazing a new path toward this extremely needed transformation in the Islamic world, reformation of Islam. Please help me welcome Dr. Soroush.
Okay, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be with you this lovely evening. And embarrassingly, I have to apologize for my late coming. I'm so sorry. And now after 2 hours drive, I have to drive you to the field or heavens of Shi'i reformism. I hope our next trip will be as successful as it was before I arrived. And thank you very much again. This is really, I am proud and I'm honored that I am here in Berkeley for the first time. This is my first talk, first lecture in Berkeley University, and first ever lecture about Shi'ism and reforming Shi'ism. I have written a lot about Islam, about reforming Islam, but not specifically about Shi'ism. You are, of course, aware that I am born a Shi'i and I come from Iran. I was raised as a Shi'i. I am a practicing Muslim within the Shi'i tradition, within the Shi'i framework. And my reform talk here will not be from an extra religious or extra Islamic perspective, rather from within the perspective of Islam and rather from within Shi'ism. So you can, of course, look at any creed, any religion, any sect from within or from without. And I have chosen this evening to talk about Shi'ism and reforming Shi'ism from within the tradition itself. And I think it will be more useful to do that because the religious intellectualism actually has got the task to criticize and to revisit the whole Islamic creed. But we had only a Shi'i reform talk from outside Shi'ism. Usually Shi'is, because they have been a minority and they are still a minority, they do not dare criticize themselves and talk about reform. So this is something which I would like to usher in, as Professor Sadri mentioned, and perhaps we will find some common points on what I am going to present here to you. Let me start with my personal experience about Shi'ism and Sunnism, and then go on to do some more about Shi'i tradition. My first earnest exposure and encounter with the Shi'i-Sunni divide was when I was still a young student in Tehran University. By some accident, I came across a very important book written by two prominent scholars. One of them a Sunni and the other one a Shi'i. This is an absolutely unique book in the whole Islamic culture all along during 1400 years. The book is a hefty one, comes in 8 volumes, and I had the fortune and the luxury to read the whole book from cover to cover. And then I had again the opportunity to write, a number of articles about the book, and I will come to that. The book is the two authors of the book, rather, the first one lived about 900 years ago, and he's a figure no less than Imam al-Ghazali. I think and I take it that all of you are familiar with one of the most prominent scholars of Islam, who lived in 5th century, who was an Iranian, who was born in what we call it Khorasan nowadays, and he is buried there, and his tomb is there and is being visited by his fans. Now, the second author of the book came 600 years later, and this time not in Khorasan but in Kashan, to the center of Iran, a city which is very close to Qom and relatively close to Tehran. The name of the second author, of course, is Muhammad, and his title is Faiz. He is the son-in-law of Sadruddin Shirazi, which I think, again, the Muslim scholars, the scholars of Islamic studies are absolutely and certainly familiar with, the greatest philosopher, Iranian philosopher, Muslim philosopher after Avicenna, whose books now are textbooks in the seminaries in Qom, in Mashhad, and everywhere. And some of his ideas, of course, are being translated into other languages and explained by, philosophers and scholars. Now, the son-in-law of Sadruddin Shirazi is Faiz. Hereafter, I call him Faiz. Now, he actually decided to re-edit one of the most important books written by al-Ghazali 600 years before his birth. The most important and the most well-known book of al-Ghazali is Ihya al-Ulum, means revivification of Islamic sciences. Al-Ghazali himself was a jurist, was a mystic, and was a theologian. And he came to the conclusion that most unfortunately in his time and in the time that he was living, all of religious sciences, according to him, were dead. And this is exactly what he says, what he mentions. All were dead, except law, which was alive, very lofty, very prestigious. And especially mysticism, which according to him is the heart of Islamic teaching, of Islamic education, was absolutely forgotten and forsaken. So he decided to revive the religious sciences, especially and including Islamic mysticism, or rather Sufism. So that is the idea, and that is the goal of the book called Ihya'ul Ulum. That comes also in 8 volumes, 8 hefty volumes. And the book was received by Muslim community during ages, very well received indeed. Many commentaries written on the book, and it's still one of the best books, to the extent that some people had said that if the Prophet of Islam was not the last prophet, then Al-Ghazali would have been the next prophet after him. So this is the prominence and the high place that he occupies in the Muslim world, especially among the Sunni branch of Islam. Now, the book Revivification of Religious Sciences, or Ihya'ul Ulum, was edited, rewritten, if you like, by Faiz. And that's why I'm saying that the book has got 2 authors, one a prominent Sunni and the other one a prominent Shi'i scholar. Faiz also was a philosopher, a mystic, a jurist, and of course a poet. And the poetry is something that Al-Ghazali lacked. He was not a poet, although he was a very, very brilliant writer in Persian. One of his, although most of his writings are in Arabic, but one of his best books is Mahmoud, The Alchemy of Happiness, which is in Persian, and the style is superb, really. So the book is called Al-Mahajjatul Bayza, The Bright Way. This is the book, as I said, edited by Faiz, and you might say the book authored by 2 prominent authors, Al-Ghazali and Faiz. And that is the book that actually constituted my first encounter with, my first exposure to Shi'ism and Sunnism in a very serious scholarly way. As you might guess, and if you have got the fortune and the opportunity, by the help of God, and for those of you who would like to be a serious student of Islam, I strongly recommend to read this book, from cover to cover. That gives you a first-hand information about Islam, about Shi'ism, about Sunnism. Not only in general matters, but also in law, in theology, and especially, and more importantly, in ethics. So these are the main, topics which you find in the book. And then after reading this book, I actually started reading the original one, the Ihya'ul Ulum. And after reading that and making annotations and comments and so on, then I wrote a very lengthy article making a comparison between the 2. What has been left out by Faiz in his re-editing the book, and what has been taken in by him. Now, I just give you here, because I am not going to review the book here, just this is by way of introduction. And as I said, I recommend you, if you are an earnest, a student of Islam, to read the whole book. One of the quantitative, results that I came by was this, that Faiz, mind you, Faiz belongs to the Safavid period. And the Safavid period in the Iran history is known as the most radical period in Shi'ism. I was looking for a word for Ghali, and my friends actually